Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, welcome back to our home bases. Welcome out to all of the Verballerhood. Thank you for stopping on by. This is our Tuesday recap show where we're going to do a little bit of a look back, a little bit of a look forward, and also maybe give some details from our travels from this past weekend. Sir, welcome back. How you feeling?
I feel good. Got a good night's sleep last night after not really sleeping all that much the night before after the whiteout Penn State-Oregon game, and then doing our stream, working some more, and driving back to your neck of the woods, flying back, immediately being told where to pick up one of the kids and take to an event and then dinner. So got a good night's sleep.
Yeah, buddy.
We're rocking and rolling. I'm ready to both look a little bit into the past to figure out present situations and then look ahead to future situations, all with Ty Hildenbrand.
Yes, well, welcome back in one and all. Again, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe if you like what you hear on this episode. If you've liked what you have heard on all of our episodes, don't forget to go back and check out the episode that we did live from State College. We can talk through in a little bit more detail what went into that later on in the episode, but a very raw reaction in response to that Oregon-Penn State game. And part of what I think we're going to try to do today is take a bit of a look back at some of the games that we didn't have a chance to discuss in the normal amount of detail, frankly, because we didn't have a chance to watch games. We were meandering from tailgate to tailgate. We had kicked around the idea of doing something live on Sunday night, but I don't think either of us had the juice to do that. So we thought, well, we'll punt until our normal recording.
Football term.
Yes, and drop it on Tuesday morning with the appropriate amount of energy. So we're going to do some of that. Don't forget, again, verballers.com is where you can go if you want to support what Dan and I do.
Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
Before we get to that, we did have some breaking news.
Boop, 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 boop.
That dropped on Sunday afternoon. Sam Pittman officially now fired at Arkansas. That game against Notre Dame appeared to be the nail in the coffin. Sam Pittman was in year 6 with the Hogs. He finished with a career record of 32 and 34. This came as no great surprise. Sam Pittman was on the hot seat last year. Sam Pittman was on the hot seat for the majority of the early part of this year as well. As such, they have now turned over the reins to one Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
Previously the Arkansas head coach for 4 seasons. You may recall he went 11-2 with the Hogs back in 2011.
Do you have the Excite Bike music ready to roll? Or is that
I don't
is that
have
nothing
it.
that you're a pro, Ty?
I don't
The
have
people
it.
are counting on you.
I don't have it. So he goes 11-2 in 2011.
Yeah.
And then in the early part of 2012 is when the infamous motorcycle incident happened. Still the most ridiculous press conference I think I've ever seen.
Yes, of course.
In the span of time that we have been covering this damn sport. But the motorcycle incident goes down. Petrino is subsequently fired. Recently brought back into the family as the offensive coordinator. And now per Pete Thamel earlier today, again, we're recording this Monday around midday.
Yeah.
Petrino has done a little bit of his own redecorating, as such, dismissing the defensive coordinator and co-defensive coordinator, as well as the defensive line coach. So a lot here to unpack. Again, not a huge surprise that Arkansas would decide to do this in light of the pretty big defeat at home against Notre Dame. But your reaction to this, Dan, just at first blush?
My reaction is, how does it always end with Bobby Petrino? Super well, mixed bag, sometimes all right, oftentimes pretty good, nope, it never ends well. It never ends well with Bobby Petrino. You hope for the best because he's the guy who has led your program to the modern heights that they haven't been able to really replicate consistently, but we know how it's going to end. And that's, there's a lot of chaos in this world, Ty. And you know how people go back and rewatch their favorite shows? They go back and watch Friends. They go back and watch The Office because it's comforting, right? That there's so much chaotic around them. Maybe that's what this is for Arkansas. Maybe this is just a late night Netflix rewatch that sort of recalibrates everything inside. I don't think it's going to go well. I think Arkansas has potential to win a bunch of games as a program, no matter the year, if they have the right guy. I just think there's enough in place if they can get that money up, which I think they're just not on the same plane as other places. If they can get that money up, Arkansas is a place that is sports rabid and can have a winning culture. But not with this guy.
Well,
but it's just not with this guy.
For what it's worth, our friend Bruce Feldman over at The Athletic did write the usual candidates column for some of the names that he expects to be part of the running here. Bobby Petrino is one of them. He lists him as the ultimate wild card, but also scandal-laden, which I think we understand pretty well at this point. Some of the other names among current head coaches that Bruce kicks around, the one that he says, first and foremost, it's his if he wants it, Rhett Lashlee at SMU.
Right.
Eric Morris at North Texas, another one, as well as Ryan Silverfield at Memphis, G.J. Kinney at Texas State, John Sumrall at Tulane. Some really intriguing names there. Jeff Traylor from UTSA, ever the candidate in this part of the country, also in the running. And a name that Bruce throws out there just, I think, because of some previous connections between him and the current AD at Arkansas, Hunter Yurachek, Deion Sanders.
Sure.
Deion Sanders was interviewed by Yurachek at Jackson State. Jackson State, at the time, came away extremely impressed by what they heard from Deion. Would he entertain a move? I have no idea. But those are the names among current coaches that Bruce throws out there. And then in addition to Petrino, on the coordinator side of this, he also includes Gus Malzahn, who had a cup of coffee, of course, with Arkansas and is familiar with.
Has a lot of roots, goes way back. Last head coaching tenure at UCF, I wouldn't say went swimmingly.
Did not go swimmingly, but Gus Malzahn, currently the FSU offensive coordinator, throws his name out there as well. So all of these offensive guys in some way, shape, or form. Deion Sanders, sort of a mixed bag, I guess. Deion Sanders, to me, seems like the all-time wild card on this list. But Arkansas, another school now, going to be looking for a new head football coach.
Yep.
As we've been saying, it's going to be a very active cycle. It does not surprise me at all that some of these schools are getting on the carousel a little bit early, and my hunch is that there are going to be a number more to follow. So stay tuned.
Colorado currently 0-3 against power conference programs at the moment, so if he is going to be a candidate anywhere, he seems very happy in Colorado. They've been very supportive of him. Probably going to need to get that record up pretty quickly.
I agree. All right. No other news here, at least not to that extent. We will dive into much, much more as we get into previews throughout the course of the week. Let's talk some polls, Dan.
Buddy.
Let's reveal some polls. Your Oregon Ducks up 4 spots, all the way up to number 2 in the AP poll. Oregon, by the way, all the way up to number 1 in our Verballer Top 12 poll. We've also got Ole Miss up 9 in the AP poll, all the way up to number 4. Alabama, on the heels of their win against Georgia on the road 24-21. They are up 7 now, cracking the top 10 at number 10. In terms of the AP poll, some of the biggest losers: Penn State down 4 to number 7. Georgia down 7 to number 12. LSU down 9 to number 13. And Florida State down 10, all the way down to number 18. Notably, they are now ranked below Alabama. Okay. And USC has dropped entirely out after their loss to Illinois. They were previously at number 21. They're out entirely. Some other names here of teams that I think are just of interest in our universe. Virginia is now ranked number 24 after upsetting Florida State. They weren't even in the others receiving votes column last week.
Right.
Vandy, who we will talk about a little bit later in this episode, very quietly at number 16 after turning it on a little bit later than expected and rolling Utah State.
Yeah.
And among some of the other notables who benefited from losses of teams in front of them, Oklahoma up to number 5, Texas A&M up to number 6, Indiana up to number 8. These are all results of the AP poll. Any thoughts initially to those? We can get into our Verballer Top 12, which again remains the most accurate poll in all of college football polling, in just a minute. But how do we feel about what we saw on the AP side?
totally internally split on who should be one between Ohio State and Oregon. It's hard to argue against what Ohio State did on the road, not allowing, I don't believe they allowed a touchdown at Washington, who had displayed a lot of offensive firepower early on in the season, and 0 touchdowns against the Ohio State defense. Not a ton of pop from the Ohio State offense, but efficient, right? They eventually take care of business after a slow start. What Oregon did at Penn State in that kind of environment and the way that they pulled that game out, I think just should have number one consideration, which when you're ranked number 2, it seems like there's number one consideration.
Yeah. And look, like I said, in the Verballer poll, Oregon was number 1. Oregon was my number 1 pick.
Same.
And listen, Ohio State beating Texas in the manner that they did week 1,
that's
home. Great. At home.
Yep.
Going to Washington, putting on the display that they did, especially defensively, I think that's also something that we should commit to memory
I think
here.
Both have arguments. Yeah.
Absolutely, both have arguments. But Oregon going to Penn State and winning that game singularly might be the most impressive win we have seen so far in college football this season.
Sure.
So it's hard for me, given the fact that Oregon looked really good before that game, and then the way that they just went into State College and got that dub. For me, Oregon's won based on the body of work right now. Ohio State's a close second. Ohio State has been impressive in their own right, but I tend to agree a little bit more with the Verballer poll. My hunch is that there was a fair amount of second guessing where Oregon belongs, where Ohio State belongs, but consensus is that those are 1 and 2 in any order.
Also that the Texas win hasn't aged well through no fault of Ohio State's, but Texas has not looked especially strong and otherwise a top 5 type program at the moment. Miami has an opportunity this weekend to make a statement. They haven't played on the road yet, I don't believe.
No, this is their first away from home.
Going to a top 20 team as a favorite this week, coming off of a bye, they have the opportunity to lay claim to being in that. I mean, they're in this conversation by just being number 3 in the country, but they will have an opportunity to make a strong statement against Florida State to be in that conversation even further. Oklahoma at number 5, that's Oklahoma with John Mateer at number 5. What are they without John Mateer? Big old shrug. Who's to say? Yeah. But I don't think the assumption is that they are a top 5 team with Michael Hawkins, yes. And he has the chance to prove it and silence people like myself. But right now, that's a sort of assumption based on what we've seen from a different quarterback. LSU seems high with how incompetent during stretches they seem on offense. And the Clemson win hasn't aged as particularly impressive. Neither has the Florida win. And that's fine. LSU can only take care of business against the teams they're playing. I would have Texas lower. I don't think they've done anything since losing to Ohio State to establish themselves as looking like a top 10-ish team. I might have Vandy higher than they are at 16 just because they've taken care of business against teams that they've been on the field against. Not crazy good teams that, like, South Carolina's flawed. Virginia Tech is flawed, obviously. They've already fired their coach, but Vandy looked strong in those games. I might have Mizzou a little bit higher. I might have BYU a little bit higher, though, as we mentioned, Colorado hasn't won a power conference game yet. And Texas Tech might be a little bit higher. That win against Utah, that fourth quarter has aged well, but there is a question about where they stand at quarterback, who's playing quarterback, how well that player will either continue to play or not necessarily continue to play. But Texas Tech has looked very strong. I don't mind having them even a little bit higher. What about you?
Yeah, one of the more interesting means of comparison here, if we're looking at both the AP poll and the Verballer top 12, is Texas. And I feel like our Verballerhood has done a good job putting Texas where I feel Texas should be.
Right.
I don't think Texas has looked all that impressive. Now, for sure, it's a good team. And for sure, it is still early.
Totally.
They are 3-1. Their only loss is on the road against Ohio State. That's not a bad loss by any stretch of the imagination. But right now in the AP, Texas is 9. The Verballer poll has them outside the top 12 at number 14.
Yeah.
And I think that tracks where I've got Texas at as well. There are going to be ample opportunities here coming up for Texas the remainder of the season.
Of course.
To move up. And as I think our Verballers have done a really good job of, they will move teams around very quickly. It is not like, you have to wait for teams in front of you to lose. Right. I think there is more of this mentality of flexibility, the limber poll, as you've put it time and again, with our own poll, excuse me. So The way that ours broke down was Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Miami 3, Ole Miss 4, Texas A&M all the way up to 6, Bama all the way up to 7, Penn State drops to 8, Oklahoma actually dropped 1 in our poll to 9.
Okay.
Which I think makes sense given the fact that, hey, they're going to be without John Mateer. Georgia down to 10, Texas Tech up at 11. I think that tracks with where they're at in the AP poll as well. And then Iowa State at number 12. But some teams outside of that top 12, notably Georgia Tech, actually dropped a spot. Texas at 14, I just talked about them. Vandy at 15. That's one spot up from where they're at in the AP poll. And then LSU down at 16 by virtue of their loss. Florida State at 17, Missouri at 18, Tennessee at 19. And if we want to go all the way down to 20, it'd be Michigan.
Yes.
I think our guys did a good job. Our guys and gals and everybody listening who voted in this, we opened it up to everybody who was a free Patreon member. I think they did a pretty good job ranking these teams accordingly. I might have some minor disputes with where teams are at, but I think the general vibe of where this thing is at tracks pretty well with how I feel.
Can I give you a couple of other teams that are not ranked, that are behaving like ranked teams?
Of course.
The best of USC, I think, is a top 25 team. It was not a great ending. We'll get there. Mississippi State. So Mississippi State at home beat what both of our polls have as a top 25 Arizona State team. Okay? And then held, again, this fact check me on this. Did they hold Tennessee to 2 offensive touchdowns in this game in regulation?
So. I believe so.
Okay, so it's 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and they get a touchdown in overtime to win. And then they had 2 defensive touchdowns, not on Mississippi State's defense, most certainly on the Mississippi State offense, but took Tennessee to the actual limit. We have them as a top 15, top 20 team, both of these polls.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, if Mississippi State is at 4-1, they're kind of playing and behaving like a top 25 team that I wouldn't hate to have. I mean, I assume they got votes in the AP poll, but I think it's worth maybe even more consideration as like somewhere between 20 and 25 in this moment. You know, I have my doubts about how well they can sustain over the course of the season, given how much has changed and, you know, what our questions might be about the depth and if they can sustain injuries. But with how they've performed, I think they're worth that conversation. Also, Memphis. Memphis at 5-0.
Yep.
They're able to somehow, some way take down a team who just fired their coach in Arkansas. But they've been winning comfortably, and I think they're very quietly a quality team to be considered in this top 25.
Yeah, they checked in at number 25, I guess tied for 24th.
Okay. In ours or AP?
In our Verballer poll.
Got it.
Yeah, in our Verballer poll. But Memphis otherwise was in the others receiving votes category. South Florida, Utah, Mississippi State, Memphis, and Louisville were the top 5 in others receiving votes.
Also, I don't hate having Michigan a little bit higher than where they are in the AP poll right now. They're at 20.
They're at 20, yeah.
I don't hate the way that they were able to run against Nebraska, which a lot of teams are going to be able to do that. But that's a tough environment. The offense for Nebraska is for sure improved. Bryce Underwood was able to run well. If they can get a passing game, they look like more like top 15 than top 20. I just think they're a team worth monitoring with perhaps an interesting ceiling.
Let us know your thoughts on the AP poll, on the Verballer poll.
Yeah.
solidverbal@gmail.com or wherever you can leave a comment. We would like to get your input on who is too high, who is too low, who is just right.
Yep.
And what you're looking for the remainder of this season.
Yes.
Speaking of which, Dan. Let's do some conference power rankings. We're now through the month of September in college football. We have not done this in a while, not since we did our previews at the start of the year. We've got some games under our belt. We've got some measuring stick that we can use to grade out these teams. I've got the ACC and the SEC. You've got the Big 12 and the Big 10.
Yes.
We're going to give our power rankings. We're going to do some arguing here in part of this. As part of this next segment.
Can we sort of include thoughts about week 5 in this area?
Oh, that was what I had planned. Absolutely.
Okay, that's what so we'll do like some sidebars along the way. Like, okay, I have Tennessee here. Okay, I have Texas Tech here. Well, I guess Texas Tech didn't play, but I have Tennessee here. I have Minnesota there. Sidebar. the nice Rutgers win, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
So let's do it like that.
No, absolutely. So
Okay.
why don't we start in the SEC, since that seemed to be one of the more interesting talking points as part of the previous segment. Right now, my top 5 in the SEC goes Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Tennessee, in that order. Those are my top 5. Obviously,
Okay, continue.
obviously Alabama with the big win over Georgia.
Yeah.
I got to put Bama in front of Georgia. Now, if you had talked to me 3 weeks ago, I had Bama lower on this list. But again, Limber polls, these are power rankings. My logic in putting this together was, if I put Team A against Team B, who do I think is going to win? We just
On
saw
a neutral
Bama
site?
Yeah,
Okay.
neutral site. We just saw Bama beat Georgia. I'm going to go Alabama. Okay, Alabama 1. Georgia 2. I struggle with Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss a lot. I really like Trinidad Chambliss. I think he's the real deal. They have played better on defense than I've expected so far, and I like where their schedule is at. I'm just a little bit leery about having them this high because I wasn't nearly this high on them in the preseason. And I still feel like there's going to be a boogeyman waiting for me around one of these corners here that I don't see coming now. But I like where Ole Miss is at currently. If this is snapshot where we're at in the moment, Ole Miss is probably 3 ahead of Texas A&M. Now, the conversation between 5 and 6 for me was really where it got interesting.
Okay.
Because Tennessee just went to overtime against Mississippi State. Mississippi State has been one of the better stories in college football. Have they not so far?
Definitely.
Right. So I like where they're at. They definitely are better than a lot expected, including myself. But where does Mississippi State rank on this ladder? And where does that put Tennessee on this ladder? To me, was a huge question. Tennessee did get the win on the road, and Starkville is not always the easiest place to play. So I give them credit for that. I had Tennessee by a nose ahead of Texas. And I reserve the right to change my mind on that before long, because I just don't think Texas has looked that impressive.
Okay.
So that for me was one of like the initial break points in my power rankings in the SEC.
Texas, by the way, so they're number 9 in the country in the AP poll and number 6 in the SEC for you.
That's right.
Okay.
That's where I've got it. And then after Texas, who I have 6th, I have LSU at 7, Vandy at 8, Mizzou at 9, Oklahoma at 10. And the logic there was
Oklahoma 5 in the country.
5 in the country.
10 in
Listen, I don't
SEC.
care. I don't care.
This is yours. This is your. I appreciate it.
This is in the moment.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is that Oklahoma has a great defense. And Oklahoma is way better than they were a year ago.
Yes.
But Oklahoma is going to be without their best player for the next month. Now, Michael Hawkins Jr. is not green. He is not new to this. He played a fair amount last season. They seem to have a great confidence in him, but I still don't think it's the same team. So I'm going to knock Oklahoma for that. That's why I've got them as low as I do.
Right.
That may be unfair. I really don't care. These are my opinions at this point in time, okay?
Yeah.
Missouri is another one of these schools I had no idea where to go with Missouri.
Okay.
I like Mizzou. Mizzou's look really good. Mizzou hasn't played anybody.
I agree.
I struggled with them a lot.
I that seems reasonable. Yeah.
And then after Oklahoma, then you start getting into teams where I truly don't know where they stack up. There's a lot of potential here, I think, at the bottom still for some of these teams to really take a jump. I still think Florida has a lot of talent, though I don't think they're organized enough to really mount any kind of charge. Auburn very much falls in that same category of having a lot of talent, but it just feels like they leave us wanting week in and week out.
Agree.
Mississippi State, I don't know how high to be on Mississippi State. I've got them all the way down here. What is this, 4th from the bottom?
But here's the idea. The idea of a power ranking is a snapshot of how you're feeling about them right now, not necessarily how you anticipate them.
I know.
How you anticipate feeling about them in mid-November.
I have struggled with Mississippi State when I put this list together because there is a fair amount of me trying to convince myself that they should be higher and not lower. But then I look at the other schools around them, and I cannot in good faith put them above a school like in Oklahoma.
But it's not a projection. I understand that, yeah.
So I struggle with that. And then to round out the bottom, I've got South Carolina, Arkansas, and Kentucky. I'm probably too low on South Carolina.
I agree.
I'll throw this out there. I'm probably way too low on South Carolina. But again, if I am putting A against B, B against C, C against D, neutral site, this is how I would probably grade these teams out.
Okay. So What is it about Auburn that has you impressed with them enough to have them over Mississippi State and South Carolina?
It is, I guess, this
that they
deep
beat
belief.
Baylor a month ago and have done nothing since.
They have been close.
Okay.
Okay, close
Great.
is definitely not a stat that we track too much.
Is there
here.
a close close playoff, right? That like we have the regular one, and then we're reserving these other 12 for teams who are just like, I know you guys went 3-9.
The one score playoff? It'll be Auburn. It'll be Nebraska from last year.
From
It'll
a few
be
years ago, yeah.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
It'll be USC from a year ago.
When
right?
Nebraska was the best 3-9 team ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I struggle with the Auburn side of this as well because Auburn has been close.
Yeah.
I still like the talent that Auburn has, especially on defense, but I'm at the point now where I'm ready to write Jackson Arnold off. I don't think this is going to work. And he's better as a runner than a thrower. For sure, there are moments of good productivity out of him.
Yeah.
But to say that he is this steadying force, to your point at the start of the year, Auburn is not generally the place you go to like turn things around because it's a stable program.
Buddy,
And
Auburn's
we're
not the
seeing
place.
that.
Auburn's not the place you go to get a single first down on third or fourth down against Texas A&M.
0 for 15, something like that. Yeah.
You know who else likes the talent on Auburn's defense? Texas A&M's offense, who moved the ball the entire game, all of the time. They just came up short in the red zone. So I think you are probably leaning on your August Auburn opinion, perhaps a little bit much.
I am. No, I'll admit it.
I would have Mississippi State and South Carolina higher here. Florida in the bottom half makes sense. I would have Oklahoma a lot higher than you have them because the snapshot is they've beaten Michigan and a not-so-good Auburn team kind of barely. But you got to win your games. I would have Vandy higher here. What has Vandy not shown you against their schedule thus far?
Would you put
Sid?
Vandy above Texas?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you put Vandy in the top 5?
I think so. Yeah. They're in America's top 15, top 16, right?
Okay. Now,
I
listen,
would have. Yeah.
I understand that this is going to be drastically different from the AP poll and probably what a lot of people think, but I don't really care.
Sure.
You know my logic. That is my logic.
Yeah. I would have Texas A&M higher. Like, why Georgia at number 2? What is it about what Georgia's season this year? That the winning at Tennessee is a legit very good thing.
Sure.
They did everything they could to lose that game.
They did. But they, I think, showed a lot of resolve coming back, winning in the manner that they did. There is part of me that is still intoxicated by that throw that Gunnar Stockton made.
You're insane.
To London Humphreys. I loved it. It was incredible.
They just
incredible
lost.
Throw.
They just lost to a team at home who didn't score a single point in the second half, right?
Correct.
That's your second best team in the SEC?
That's my second best team
in
the SEC.
I think you're sniffing way too much red and black.
All right, then tell me your top 5.
I would go right now.
Right now.
I would go maybe A&M 1.
Okay.
Alabama 2, Ole Miss 3, Vandy 4, Tennessee 5, Texas 6, Oklahoma 7, Mizzou 8, LSU 9. Or I didn't put Georgia in there. Georgia would probably be 6 or 7.
Georgia 16.
Georgia 16. Okay. So something in that range.
All right.
I would have Mississippi State higher than Auburn and Florida. And South Carolina higher than Auburn and Florida at the moment.
Okay, that's fair.
I do agree with you that we need to see something from Mizzou. Like when you actually watch LSU football games, you come away thinking Brian Kelly has messed this offense up. Like they are an extremely average program right now because of this offense. And I don't know how injured Garrett Nussmeier is or is not, but they have not developed an offensive line over the course of Brian Kelly's tenure. They're dealing with injuries, obviously, on offense. Aaron Anderson went down against Ole Miss. But, this is a borderline inept offense at LSU.
And I think what's the most confounding to me on the LSU offensive line front, they got guys drafted. You know, these guys that they had on the line last year, a bunch of them got drafted.
Yeah.
The fact that they were good enough to be drafted into the league, but not good enough as a unit playing together.
Yeah.
Speaks to, I think, something on the coaching side. If you can't get those guys to mesh and play together and all be on the same page, it is not a talent thing. That points directly at a coaching thing. And I think that's definitely problematic.
It could be column A, column B. They couldn't run with their line last year. Like, Will Campbell's a great offensive lineman, but this unit couldn't push dudes forward.
No.
I don't know. I think it's a combination of factors here, but I don't think it's it's not a skill talent thing. The best of Garrett Nussmeier is really good. He was just underthrowing dudes against Ole Miss. Like, they're off. It's a very flimsy offensive plan and a mode of execution. So, yeah, I think LSU is a very average SEC team at the moment, which is where power rankings should come into play. So, take care of business against quality teams, against average teams, against not so good teams like Vandy has, and you impress me at the end of September. If we're doing this exercise again at Halloween, at Thanksgiving, whatever, it's just going to look different because of the data available. But this is what we have to go on.
That's what we have to go on. Give me your power ranking for the Big Ten. At time of recording, again, we're recording this on Monday, September the 29th.
Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State are my 1, 2, 3. I have Penn State ahead of Indiana based on their performance against my number one, and that's it, right? I think their talent level, I believe their talent level on defense, which has been really strong this entire year. They were asked to do a lot against Oregon when the offense wasn't doing anything against the Ducks, and generally held up really well. So I don't think it was on the Penn State defense that they lost that game. So I think Penn State's ceiling, because of their defense, the way they performed against my number one, I have Penn State ahead of Indiana, who struggled to play like a top 3 Big Ten team against Iowa. A decent but very flawed Iowa team because of their offense. So I'm impressed with what Indiana did against Illinois, especially in the wake of Illinois beating USC. But Illinois tried everything they could to give away that USC game at the same time. So I think Indiana at 4, to me, is pretty defensible. If you are positive they're better than Penn State, we will get to see it on the field. Will we not?
We will.
Okay. So do you disagree?
No, I don't. I mean, I did go back and forth on Penn State and Indiana, and I think even on the sheet that I shared with you, I had Indiana over Penn State.
Right.
But I think cooler heads on this side have prevailed a little bit.
Right.
And I'm still inclined to go Penn State. I mean, Penn State, the way that they fought back against Oregon, who might be the best team in the country, could well be the best team in the Big Ten, that was impressive. It really was impressive because, as you know, we were in the stadium. It felt, when they went down 17-3, like they were dead.
Yeah.
So something woke them up and lit a match and got them back into that thing, and they damn near won the game. Penn State deserves some credit for that. So I think by nose we give them the nod over Indiana. But Indiana, for me, is a clear 4th then at that point.
Okay, fair enough. I then go Michigan, Illinois, USC with my next 3.
I agree with that ordering, yeah.
I can't put USC ahead of Illinois, even though I believe the best of USC is better than Illinois. I believe if those two teams played on a neutral field 10 times, USC would probably win 6 or 7 times. But Illinois literally just beat them.
They literally just beat them. And if we are doing a little bit of a look back at this game, I mean, this was back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And USC had the lead late.
Yes.
What was
probably
your reaction?
Too early late. They left
them
a lot
a little too
of
much time.
Yeah.
Left them a little too much time. This was not exactly a banner showing by the vaunted USC defense, which I had mentioned on, I guess, our previous episode, that they looked a lot better to me. And I've been saying that all year. They didn't look great.
Well, they were also down there like all conference caliber safety, and Kamari Ramsey, who I think was out with food poisoning, which, man, you choose something to wake up with or to be held out of a game with, that's about as horrible as it gets, right?
Yes.
They're just like, I'm in no control of my body.
No,
so,
talk about insult to injury.
Feel bad for him. Hope he's able to, he should be able to recover by next week.
When you went back and did the rewatch, though, of Illinois USC, what was your reaction?
Illinois looked a lot more creative on offense, a lot more motion, a lot more like, let's do the boring thing and hit like an open swing pass to, what was it, Fagan for the long touchdown run. We're like, they didn't anticipate that being a 65, 70-yard run or whatever it was, or, catch and run. But they took what was there. Luke Altmaier played a lot more fearlessly, it seemed, against USC. And on the SC side, like, they lost their starting center, I believe, in the first half. They were already down their starting left tackle, and it sort of showed in the run game that they just, over Lincoln Riley's tenure at USC, like, at best, the offensive line results have been up and down. At absolute best. There have been some absolute lows on the offensive line. And I thought Jade Mayava looked good. I thought he was really good. Obviously, Mekhi Lemon looked outstanding.
Yeah.
Up front on defense, USC just isn't ready to compete. They got pushed around by Illinois way too much. And it's a slop factor with USC. The penalties, those big moment penalties, once again, I don't know how many penalties they have in this game.
I got to pull it up, but there were a bunch, yeah.
They were playing sloppy football. And even if you think Illinois is only okay, at home, after a bad loss, they're going to be juiced up a little bit. And that USC couldn't win this game, both scoring late and with Illinois turning the ball over. And by the way, credit the USC defense for turning the ball over, but it's just hard to lose a game in which you get 2 red zone turnovers.
Yeah.
So you're erasing 14 points off the board from Illinois, and Illinois still wins. So, stop me if you've heard this one before, but USC lost an absolutely winnable game on the road because of how sloppily they played late. That's just the story with USC. They have many more games to reverse that this season. But, I don't know, Illinois sort of did more boring things well than USC, and they've been dealing with their own injuries, so you can't use that as an excuse. USC just has to, bounce back and have a very short memory because it's not a short season. There are some definite landmines on the schedule for USC. They have, Nebraska and Michigan and Notre Dame and Oregon. So if you want to avoid 7-5, 8-4, that starts yesterday.
Yeah. 8 penalties, by the way, for those playing along at home. So you've got USC at 7.
Yeah.
My hunch is that since we agreed on that top 7 for the most part, the remaining 11 teams, we're going to have a fair amount of disagreement on. Why don't we start at the very bottom? Okay. UCLA, right?
UCLA.
Second from the bottom, Northwestern?
Purdue.
Okay,
yeah.
And then Northwestern.
Northwestern's won a game.
Okay.
In the Big Ten, I mean. And then Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
Yes.
I think that's right, actually.
Is there anything that they've done to merit a higher number?
No.
I have Michigan State here. Not that I think their Boston College win is all that crazy, but I thought they competed really nicely in LA in a weird time spot for them. So I'm going to credit them there.
Okay.
Rutgers
next.
above them.
Yep. Maryland next?
No. Minnesota
below Maryland.
Yes. I mean, what has Maryland done this season for you to knock? I mean, their offense hasn't been great, but they've done really well with a young defense, and they've won.
They have won.
I mean, that you gotta give them some credit there. So I have them a little bit higher than you, I think.
That's fair. One of the interesting stats that I pulled when I was going through and looking at just passer grades and things of that nature, because I like to look at that stuff. And again, take some of that stuff with a grain of salt. I mean,
I'm way ahead of you.
Yeah, PFF's been talking up CJ Carr, and they give him a horrible grade. So there's a bit of conflict there, I think, in some of the scores that I see. But one thing that doesn't seem to be in too much conflict is the fact that Drake Lindsey is the highest graded passer in the Big Ten. He's slightly ahead of Dante Moore, Jade Mayava, and he's put the numbers up. He's obviously had a really, really good season. I'm curious to see as the season goes on if that manifests as a big upset at some point along the way, or if Minnesota can kind of get over, a hump or two and get to maybe a different level. But a nice win this past weekend against Rutgers, 31-28 in the Ethan Kaliak Manis Bowl.
Yes. No, he's been pretty good. Drake Lindsey's been pretty good. This hasn't been an especially explosive offense. Obviously, dealing with injuries in the backfield doesn't help, but I don't think I'm as high. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
Like, so are you taking Julian Sayin and Dante Moore behind Drake Lindsey?
Probably not.
Damon Williams?
But also,
yeah,
definitely better supporting casts.
Also better supporting casts.
All right, so
I would take Jade
Maryland.
Mayava. Yeah.
You've got Maryland ahead of Minnesota.
I've got Maryland ahead of Minnesota. They're winning. Their schedule has not been great, but they're winning, and Minnesota scored 13 points at Cal. And I think Cal's fine, but
they've got a big home game this weekend with Washington traveling cross country.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. All right. So who is next up after Maryland then?
I have Iowa above Maryland right there.
Okay. So if you're going Iowa above Maryland, I'm assuming you've got Washington. I mean, it's just Washington and Nebraska left.
Yes, I have Washington above Iowa, Nebraska above Washington.
Okay.
You score 0 touchdowns at home against the best team, arguably, on your schedule. They have both Ohio State and Oregon. That tells me you have some work to do because the defense isn't there. If you're going to win, it's going to be with offense, and the offense isn't there. So where are we? Iowa was neck and neck with Rutgers, so I think they should be right around Rutgers in the meaty middle of this. That's why I have them there. I still think Washington's ceiling is higher than Iowa's, so I have them there. I thought Nebraska acquitted itself really well against the number 5 team here in Michigan. The offense has improved. I'm still not crazy about it, but it's undoubtedly looks improved, and Dylan Raiola has gotten better. I'm not a Raiola guy.
Now, hold on.
Better.
Pause it right there. Pause
Please.
it right there. You've been taking some arrows about your thoughts on Dylan Raiola.
Yes.
I wanted to give you a chance to clarify where you're coming from with Raiola.
He's got a terrible offensive line, but he also holds on to the ball too long, maybe because he anticipates his offensive line being bad on every snap. They're bad a lot. They're not bad on every snap. And so it's this weird, I don't know, self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes with him that he holds on too long. The receivers are fine. The running back is good. I just think there are too many potentially disastrous throws from him because of like footwork that goes in and out, and had an opportunity at the end of that Michigan game and it just wasn't happening. And there's like this weird combination of insanely impressive arm talent, raw footwork, fear of an offensive line that has let him down a bunch, that I just don't think it's a cocktail I'm ordering at the college football bar right now. And so it's a long season. He has, like, you just watch him play. He's definitely improved from where they were. Sure. But the decision now to like go to Nebraska and look at Matt Rule and say, I trust you to figure out an offensive architecture and vision for me. It's not a great decision. Obviously, I understand his family connection to Nebraska, but it doesn't seem like that's the place to go to and that's the coach to play for if you are looking to become a top flight quarterback. So the best of him is really good. The ups and downs are just not anything that I would have fun with if I were a Nebraska fan. I know they're throwing like numbers at me, like these counting numbers.
All the counting stats, Dan. All the the total yardage. We've graduated.
He's not
past
bad.
That,
I just wouldn't like to have him as my quarterback, given the what you don't know what you're getting. That's barely English. The lack of let's call it the lack of consistency from anything in figuring out how to best use him, and for him to just sort of have a better plan when he's looking at defenses. It's not for me.
Okay, fair. I'm definitely higher on him than you are.
Yeah, it's fine. But USC has an opportunity to move up. Washington has an opportunity to move up. All these teams do. Michigan has an opportunity to fall flat. Absolutely, they do. But that's where I stand with the Big Ten.
Over in the ACC.
Yes.
The ACC is both easier and harder to grade out. Miami is one. Miami is the clear number one.
Which is Virginia erasure, but okay.
After you get past Miami, that's when it gets weird.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when I think you've got a number of teams you could put in any order. And it goes pretty deep. I've got Georgia Tech 2. I've still got Florida State 3.
I'm already differing.
I've got Louisville 4. And I've got Duke 5.
Okay. I have Miami, Louisville. Winning is boring, but it's better than losing. And Louisville has won. Florida State looks sloppy at Virginia. The errors leading to Virginia touchdowns. Obviously, the game ended on an error for Florida State. After that kind of performance with what Virginia's offense did against Florida State, I'm just not there with Florida State at number 2. I have them at number 3.
Okay.
I actually have Virginia behind them because of Virginia's loss, obviously, to NC State, if I recall correctly.
You tell me you have Virginia in the top 5.
Yes.
Whoa.
Well, here's the thing. If you beat number 2 or number 3 or number 1, you got to be pretty good. I have Virginia ahead of Georgia Tech.
Who's number 2? You have Virginia at number 2?
No, Louisville's at number 2.
Louisville's number 2.
Yes.
Virginia at 3?
No, Florida State at 3, Virginia
Florida
at
State
4. Obviously, Florida State just lost to Virginia, and I'm being sort of a hypocrite here
So
with
am
how
I.
I described Illinois, USC.
Yep.
I understand. If you disagree with any of this, my answer to you is, yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. You're probably right. But, I sat and thought about it, and my brain has limited capacity and limited growth potential. So here we are. What do you have? So then I have Georgia Tech at 5.
Okay.
Right
so
there.
we kind of have the same teams there. No, I've got Duke at 5, ahead of Clemson at 6, and then Clemson ahead of Virginia.
I have, Duke, Clemson, and then Cal.
Okay. We'll get to Cal in a second.
Yeah.
My thinking here with putting Duke above Clemson, I still like Clemson's talent. I think Clemson is a preseason 1, but they're 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, they're screaming who they are. You got to believe them.
Correct.
That's seem like
likely high for Clemson at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard not to like the talent. It's hard not to like the veteran presence. It's hard not to like just the pedigree of the program. But
right.
1-3 is screaming 1-3. And we've watched this team all year. They can't get their act together on offense. At times, they've gotten pushed around on defense.
Buddy, even that one in the 1-3 wasn't all that impressive.
I know, absolutely. They were losing at one point in that game.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously going to be down on Clemson compared to where I was in the preseason. But Duke, if nothing more, Duke feels much more organized. We know that Duke is finding ways to put up points.
Right.
I think generally we still like their philosophy on defense, even if we haven't always seen it this season. So for me, Duke just has their act together a lot more. I'm not going to bottom out on Clemson, but I'm not going to put Clemson in my top, 6? Duke is going to be 5, Clemson at 6.
There's very little argument to put Clemson in your top 9 or 10.
I understand that. And this is based solely on the August Clemson that I tried to paint that picture when we did our previews.
If you had no prior knowledge of any of these teams and you just landed here from Neptune and you're like, all right, I'm looking at what I'm looking at. Let's see who's who and what's what. Clemson, where would Clemson be?
I know.
Clemson doesn't have a power conference win.
This is based almost exclusively on my preseason prediction, which went up in smoke almost immediately.
Clemson's 13th or 14th, if you're looking at it like that.
I've got Virginia right after Clemson, ahead of SMU, ahead of Pitt, ahead of NC State, ahead of Wake Forest.
Okay. We're starting to get a little different here. So after my Clemson, I have Cal, NC State, Virginia Tech.
You're really high on Tech.
I'm not really high on Tech.
That's really high on Tech.
This is a very stupid conference.
Well, it is. And this is why I say after that initial wave of 5 or 6 teams, it starts to get really weird.
I agree.
And I think we find ourselves in this situation often with the ACC. We joke about it here about like we can never remember who plays whom.
Right.
But truly, you get past that top 6 and there are a bunch of teams that kind of feel the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I do think that is in part why the ACC is so damn interesting. It was like this a little bit last year. It's even more the case this year. There's a lot of Big 12 in the ACC where it feels like anybody can beat anybody almost at any time. Doesn't matter where the game's being played.
Well, yeah. I mean, you talk about the ACC Coastal. That was always just a mix and match of 6-6, 7-7, 5-7 teams. That's what we sort of have after Miami, Louisville, Florida State, Georgia Tech, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Outside of that top grouping of 5 or 6 teams, it kind of feels like that way throughout. So let me read the rest of this off to you.
Okay, so where I am with mine is Cal, NC State, Virginia Tech. Okay. Even though Virginia Tech did just beat NC State. I hear you.
I have Cal, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College, North Carolina, Stanford.
Yeah.
To round out mine. By the way, full disclosure, I forgot Stanford on the initial document I put together. That's what I think of Stanford. Okay. Cal, to me, though, was a team. Cal and Wake Forest were the 2 teams that I had no idea what to do with.
Okay, I can help.
I think Wake Forest is going to be damn plucky.
Okay.
Wake Forest could have beaten Georgia Tech. Probably should have beaten Georgia Tech. But
so
Wake
they're
Forest,
another entry in your close playoff.
Another entry in the close playoff. They could be an 8th seed. But Wake Forest is a team I think that's going to give many others in this conference white knuckles throughout the course of the year trying to beat them. They will be in every game, which if you're a Wake fan, that's a plus. You will take that.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to make of Cal. I love JKS. I think Cal is definitely better than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
Cal also, didn't they get shut out by San Diego State a week ago?
Look, you don't just go into Snapdragon and expect to win, Ty.
34 to nothing.
Right?
You don't go in there maybe expecting to win, but you do go in there expecting to score some points.
Do you know how difficult it is to give up 34 points to San Diego State? This is a special Cal program.
Did San Diego State just lose 6-3 or win 6-3 over Northern Illinois?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It takes a special kind of program, right? That there's something in the air with Cal that you just have to reward. That anything can happen with the Cal Golden Bears. So I can't put them too low because I'm just scared of them right now.
I can't put them too low, but I can't put them too high.
That's fine. So Cal beat a mid-tier, as we see it right now, Minnesota team comfortably. Cal just traveled across the country and beat probably a lower to mid-tier ACC team in Boston College. I think that's hard to do. Just from a travel aspect, if you're Cal. So I'm impressed enough to put them at whatever I did, like 8, 7.
You're telling me on a neutral field you would take Virginia Tech over Cal?
No, I have Cal ahead of Virginia Tech.
Okay.
I have Cal, NC State, then Virginia Tech after Clemson. And then I have Wake and SMU.
You're pretty low on SMU.
Tell me what SMU has done this year specifically where you're just like,
nothing.
All right, you got to keep them in that top half.
Nothing.
They just haven't.
No.
They don't have a power conference win, right?
No.
So they're trying to tell us that they have some work to do. Next.
Of teams on this list that I do not understand NC State.
Okay.
This means it's like year 7 of me not understanding NC State. I have no idea what NC State is. I don't know which direction they're headed. I expected more just when I thought it was safe to expect more. They're basically telling me to expect less. So they got to be somewhere, I think, bottom half of the conference, but not fully at the bottom.
Correct.
It's still a pretty good team with a fair amount of talent. And Pitt, for what it's worth, Pitt's kind of in the same category as well.
Can't lose to Virginia Tech, right? If you want NC State as like a mid-tier or upper half team in the ACC. But they also did beat the team that beat Florida State.
That's right.
In Virginia.
Welcome to the ACC. That's what this is.
But they gave a 45 to Duke, whereas, Duke has struggled on offense at times this year. And Duke is getting points. Duke has already won a couple ACC games, and they handled a Syracuse team, which we'll get to in a second, like they should have if Duke is pretty good. Without Ricky, with Ricky Collins and not Steve Angeli.
Yeah, and again, my bottom 5 are Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College, North Carolina, Stanford.
Is there something Boston College has accomplished this year that has you higher on them than these other teams?
Well, they're third from the bottom. I think they're better than North Carolina, and I think they're definitely better than Stanford.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What have they accomplished? Not much, but they're still better than those teams.
I have Cuse fifth from the bottom after SMU, just because of the quarterback situation. Then Boston College, then Pitt, then North Carolina, then Stanford. So I have your ACC Conference Championship Pitt Panthers as the third worst team in the conference.
Oh, boy.
Again, Pitt has lost to arguably the worst Big 12 team. We'll get there. And lost a winnable moment to a top-tier team with a good defense. Well, maybe a good defense. And so Pitt is underwhelming right now, to say the least.
Over in the Big 12.
Yes.
Iowa State won?
No. Texas Tech won.
Iowa State 2.
Iowa State 2.
Arizona State 3.
Arizona State 3.
Who the hell is 4th?
Utah, but I don't feel good about it.
I've got Baylor 4th, but I don't feel great about that either.
Good luck.
I know. I've got Baylor, TCU, BYU, and then Utah.
I've got Baylor further down. But again, if you think that's incorrect, I'm not going to argue with you on any of these picks after probably the top 3. So I have Utah 4, BYU 5, TCU 6.
Yeah.
And then I have Cincinnati, Kansas, and Baylor. I'm not as high on Baylor as you are. As close as they were at home against Arizona State.
And you're pretty low in Houston, apparently.
I don't think much of Houston right now. If you need every single second to beat Oregon State, I don't know about you.
Did you mention K-State at all?
I didn't. So I have Baylor in 4, like 8th. And then I go Arizona, Kansas State, UCF. Kansas State just beat UCF, which is good,
Yep.
but they've already lost to Arizona as well,
Right.
who did not look good against Iowa State.
And then you round it out with what? Oklahoma State and West Virginia.
Colorado.
Oh, okay.
So Houston after UCF, Colorado, West Virginia, Oklahoma State.
Okay.
Colorado's 2-3. West Virginia has the nice win against Pitt, but they've otherwise been kind of donkey. And then Oklahoma State, who actually had some fight against Baylor.
I just feel like we're hurtling towards another 4 or 5 way tie in this conference.
Same.
I mean, I think it's inevitable that it's going to end up there. I feel better about Iowa State right now because it feels like among the teams at the top, they're the most trustworthy. And a lot of that falls on the arm of Rocco Becht,
Sure.
who seems like he is playing with veteran poise and veteran leadership. And as the offense is coming along, which, by the way, looked okay this past week,
Right.
as the offense is coming along and kind of growing into this new form after losing 2 1,100-yard receivers, he has been a real steadying force. Now, this is not to say they're blowing teams out.
They are not.
They did blow out this weekend against Arizona. I mean, they had a huge lead. But otherwise, separate from this win this past weekend, it's not like they're out there blowing the doors off teams, but I think they've definitely shown some veteran leadership. And I feel good about that. I also feel good about what we have started to see from Arizona State. That said, this was not the most impressive win that we saw on Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, Sonny Dykes put it best in the postgame that TCU kept shooting itself in the foot. They had 3 turnovers. They gave up 6 sacks. Arizona State was good enough to win, despite the fact that if you look at the box score, they should have won by more. They outgained them by a 500 to 271 margin. They still only beat TCU by 3 points.
Yeah.
I think the best of ASU is really interesting, but I also think the next 4 games should tell us everything because they're at Utah, home against Texas Tech, home against Houston, and then on the road at Iowa State. The Houston conversation is also kind of interesting for me.
Okay.
Houston is off to their best start since 2016, I believe.
Okay.
They had a nice little fourth quarter comeback here. I saw some fans online calling them the Cardiac Cougs, which is perfect.
Sure.
They ended up scoring 14 points in the final 6 minutes to go to overtime to win this game against Oregon State, who's not good, on Friday night by a field goal.
Right.
It just feels like Houston, as I said when we did our previews way back when, Houston has a coach who knows what he's doing. That stands for something in my book.
Agree.
And this team is already leaps and bounds better than they were a year ago. This is not to say they're one of the top teams in the conference, but I think they are good enough at present to influence the conversation the remainder of the way. It will have a bite at the apple against some of these teams in front of them. And if they dump 1, if they dump 2 of them, that's going to have a real impact in a conference that could be decided by a mass tiebreaker. That's why I'm interested in Houston.
Okay. They currently sit as the 130th most efficient offense in America,
I know.
which is why I have them in the back half of the Big 12.
I understand that.
They
I
beat
understand that.
Colorado's third-string quarterback, and they needed overtime to beat an 0-5 Oregon State. So I just think it's better to win than lose, but the manner in which they're doing it doesn't leave me sweaty and hot and bothered.
No, I mean, but case in point, this week at home, a 12.5-point dog against Texas Tech coming to town.
Sure.
I like Texas Tech a lot. I would think that point spread would be a little bit higher. It's not. That tells me something in its own right.
This is Texas Tech coming off of a bye
Yes.
with quarterback questions. I mean,
With
Will Hammond was
quarterback
obviously
questions.
very good, but we'll see.
I would think that would be a bigger line. That's just me. And another team that we mentioned, or I guess didn't mention enough, is Cincinnati. Cincinnati's actually favored by 1 at home against Iowa State this week.
Which kind of makes sense. They've been very quietly competitive in that opening game loss against Nebraska. Who did they just beat in a shootout? Kansas?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they can move the ball. I think they're interesting. They have the 4th most efficient offense in America. Cincinnati runs the hell out of the ball. They're throwing the ball really well. Their defense has been fine as long as you run at them and don't throw at them.
That's right.
Because Jalen Daniels lit them up. But I think Cincinnati's a really good story.
Write in solidverbal@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on all of these power rankings and more. I want to hear yours.
There's almost no thought that you could offer up that I will disagree with.
No.
Other than Ty Hildenbrand is not one of the most 100 handsome men in this world.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Yeah, of course.
You can spare yourselves from calling us idiots. That's perfectly fine. We know that.
We already agree.
We already agree with you.
Yeah.
So it's totally cool. Just let us know in the comments or in the email box or on social media how you would rank these teams out, why you disagree with us. It's all good. Okay? It's all good.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
I know we have to look ahead to week 6, right? Can we go like just some stray thoughts from week 5 that we didn't have time to sort of get to in our power rankings?
Yeah.
And on Saturday night, now that I've watched all of the games that I've tried to watch and read everything that I've tried to read, like I just want the Ty Hildenbrand like Monday morning quarterback. Here are some things I think. That's what I'm looking for from you, Ty.
Okay.
I don't know why I sounded like Annie Rooney reading Peter King's call or segment title, but continue.
Yeah, I mean, I went back, I watched, and I know we saw this one on Friday, but I went back and I watched that UVA win over Florida State. And what I find interesting about it is, of course, it's going to be defined by the field storming, which is crazy, and apparently everybody's okay, but it was like the wildest thing. 2 milliseconds after the game is over, the entire crowd's out on the field.
Yeah.
That's going to define this game, but I think as a whole, the ACC season could well be defined by teams like Virginia having a real effect on the conversation. And we've already seen this a couple times over now. Like a little over a week ago, Syracuse knocks off Clemson. They sent them to 1-3. Georgia Tech almost went down this week to Wake. We talked about that.
Yep.
I happen to think, as we discussed, that Miami's the clear number 1, but they've now got a target on their back. And they might be more immune to these types of losses given the strength of their lines, but they're certainly not invincible, and we've seen that in the past.
Right.
We can get into that. We're going to do a preview, an advanced preview here of that Florida State game in a few minutes. But the conversation and the teams that could affect it in a real meaningful way, both in terms of the conference, in terms of the playoff, is I think where I'm thinking
goes
what I'm
through
thinking
Charlottesville. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about that now as we've gotten a month into the season. And UVA is one of those interesting teams. There are a bunch of those types of teams in the ACC, as we discussed in the power ranking. But for me, just going back and looking at how they beat Florida State and how they looked against a team like Florida State, that to me is really, really interesting in terms of how they could affect things moving forward.
Virginia on Friday night was an elite cockroach. You think you're done with them.
You
just keep coming back.
You couldn't kill them.
Yeah. Unkillable Who's. Okay. I agree with you there. Just going through this, I don't know if you want to start at the top. I don't know if you want, however you want to organize this. I have some things I think, just based on watching some of these games. Ohio State on defense is incredible. What they did against Texas, or what however you want to perceive Texas, what they did going to Washington, which is usually a very difficult place to play, didn't seem super difficult. Didn't seem like a crazy difficult environment, but you never know how people mix audio in the truck. But Ohio State seemed very comfortable. And I say that because I watched the TV version of the Whiteout game back, and I was like, this is a terrible audio mix. They in no way captured the energy. So I don't know if it was just like the regular mixer for NBC in the truck sprained an ankle and wasn't cleared.
You don't think it was loud enough?
I do not think the crowd was loud enough. I did not think it captured what was going on in that stadium well. Okay. I don't know if it was a microphone thing. I don't know if it was a mix thing. I don't know if the director, the producer was just like, this is how my broadcast should sound. I did not think it was indicative of the environment. I did not think NBC captured it well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you think it was like, oh, that's what it was like? I didn't think that at all.
I'm showing you this thing here. You can see it on my phone. Maybe you can, maybe you can't.
Oh, you have a decibel thing?
Yeah. You can see on here that at spots it gets up to like 120 decibels.
Yeah. It's ear splitting.
In the stadium. One of those deals where it feels like you're at a concert a little bit. And if it stays at that level, your ears are ringing the next day or certainly the night after.
It feels like you're working in a Jamba Juice. Yeah.
I did not pick that up from the highlights that I saw, but I didn't go back and rewatch the entire
I didn't
game
think
yet.
they did a good job at all.
Okay. What else you got?
I mentioned LSU and offensive ineptitude. conversely, Ole Miss is good. Ole Miss is not perfect. Far from it. I don't know what Ole Miss is going to do if a team decides to run the ball well or just like really focus and game plan well on the ground against Ole Miss, because this is a defense that I think can be had on the ground. That said, what they're able to do on offense, what they're able to do weathering issues on offense, whether it's turnover issues or whatever, they had, I think it was Caden Lee fumbled it into the end zone, recovered by LSU. There's a certain amount of resilience and a certain amount of like, okay, you're going to give us this, we'll take it, to Ole Miss, and I think they're a really good team. So I thought that win was super impressive. I sort of alluded to this talking about Georgia and why you had them ranked number 2. Got a lot of problems, man. I don't think the offensive line is all that good. You saw that in the big moments late when they had opportunities on the ground, whether it was Gunnar Stockton or was it Cash that they were handing it to late?
Right.
I just thought there were issues on Georgia's offense, and you'll have Georgia people screaming about Mike Bobo. I thought the defense did a nice job adjusting to Alabama in the second half. I thought Ty Simpson was electric in that first half.
Oh, yeah. I mean, do we not give Georgia some benefit of the doubt, though? Just for being Georgia. More often than not, they figure it out.
But, like, that's your sort of, like, somewhere in the air, Georgia's going to be good, and they're going to grab the pixie dust out of the air. Like, I don't see it. I think they're good. I just don't see that, like, benefit of the doubt for what Jordan Davis did 3 years ago is realistic at this point.
All right. Fair enough.
I thought Alabama bounced back really well. Ty Simpson had one of the best throws of the year to Ryan Williams that Williams dropped, and it doesn't make me think any less of Ryan Williams, at least because they won, so it didn't end up costing them in the long run. The best of Ty Simpson, he's one of the best 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the country. He looks great.
He looks great, and one of the things that I thought a lot about was how after week 1 and that loss to Florida State, it was easy to wonder if they made the right decision.
Right.
If maybe they should have gone a different direction at quarterback. And what I think we're finding out, as we do every year, it seems we forget it, is that week 1 is not real life.
No, it's not.
It's not real life, and it's certainly not any more real life now that it counts less because of the playoff setup.
It can be the beginning of real life, but it should not be assumed.
It should not be assumed. And what we have seen since from Ty Simpson, perhaps against teams that are lesser than the one they played in week 1, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it depends what you think of Georgia versus Florida State or some of the other schools that have been on that lineup. But he is definitely not the athlete of Jalen Milroe. But at the same time, he's probably a better quarterback for that system. They are a very one-dimensional team right now, the way that they are building this thing. That may not be bad, and that might get them pretty far. And a lot of this is built around Ty Simpson, and I think he is showing week in and week out why. Because he is very good. He's very good in this system, and he's super efficient. So I give a lot of credit to him. I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff for building something that really, really works with him because he's been very good.
Yeah. I agree. Next, I like A&M because the best of A&M is super fun. Like the way Marcel Reed played against Notre Dame, the way they ran the ball against Auburn at times was really like those running backs. There's an immense amount of talent in this A&M backfield. Situationally, they're a wild team to root for. Like A&M on third down in the red zone, they were having issues. Like there needs to be like erase the whiteboard. Let's come up with third down plays. Let's come up with planned situation. Like that's what Colin Klein, I think, has in front of him right now. But otherwise, they left points on the board against Auburn for sure. The defense, I think, has improved since that Notre Dame game. I think they're going to be, and I don't love Auburn's offense, so to what degree, who knows? But I think A&M is for real in that they have the ability to beat just about anyone, and they have the ability to lose in dumb ways to a lot of teams as well.
Yeah, I'm not fully there with A&M's offense.
That's fine.
And I think what we saw on the, third week of the year, whenever it was when they squared off against Notre Dame, I also don't know how much of real life that was. I mean, I think Notre Dame's defense is going to improve. They did improve this past weekend against Arkansas, and I think we'll continue to see it improve. At least maybe I'm just telling myself that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what the A&M offense looks like against other SEC defenses.
Okay.
Was scoring 16 points against Auburn going to be more a trend, or was that an aberration?
Yeah.
That I don't know yet. I mean, I like a lot of their talent, and I still really like what they could do on the ground, what they can be on the ground. But I feel a bit conflicted on the A&M side. The defense is legit. Defense is SEC caliber.
The defense just gets off the field, man. They do a great job on third down.
The defense is incredible. Mike Elko's done a really good job. I mean, the defense is going to take them very far, and they deserve to be in that top rung of the power rankings for sure.
Agree.
But offensively, I feel like I've picked up some conflicting signals, and I'm not sure what to believe yet.
Indiana looks sloppy, but I guess that's to be, that's understandable given where it was a letdown spot. It's at Iowa, which is very dangerous. They have Oregon coming up. It wasn't a sandwich spot. I don't think that game will define Indiana. Win your clunkers.
Yeah.
And lose bettor's money if you're Fernando Mendoza running into the end zone for a safety. By the way, the clock ran out far before he ran into the end zone.
Yep.
He could have just slid down, but
and he apologized to bettors. I don't know if
he did.
Saw that, yeah.
You mentioned the Iowa State game over Arizona. I don't have too much to add to that other than Rocco Beck looked great. Looked really, really strong.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is a flawed team. Mississippi State is an improved team.
Tennessee story of the year. They're one of the stories of the year. Absolutely.
Tennessee they were just sloppy on offense. Some of it was self-inflicted. Some of it, the Chris Brazzell offensive pass interference call, if you thought it was a good call, I don't have a strong argument. If you thought it was a bad call, I don't have a strong argument. This is a lot of me sitting on the fence this episode, but it kind of looked like he shed the dude. Obviously, he caught it and ran in for a touchdown that was called back. That was an incredibly losable game for Tennessee that they won. So good for Tennessee for pulling that out, but they're not going to be able to get away with playing like that for very much longer.
No.
So that was an interesting watch for me. What else do I have here? I didn't watch a ton of Georgia Tech Wake. I don't know if you have any lingering thoughts on that.
No, I mean, my lingering thought is just what I said in the run-up to that game.
Yeah.
That Wake is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They're going to be a pain in the ass.
They needed to come back. Georgia Tech did.
Yeah, and I also think it underscores something that you talked about with Georgia Tech in advance of this game, which was Georgia Tech is very good. Georgia Tech, very tough. Georgia Tech has a lot to like, and they're a fun team to watch. But at present, they're not going to rip through the remainder of the schedule without taking a loss somewhere.
Right. Agree.
And, whether it's Wake or whether it's somebody else, I mean, there are a bunch of plucky teams in this ACC, and somebody will dump Georgia Tech before long.
Notre Dame against Arkansas.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, speaking of real life versus not real life.
Yeah.
I don't know fully what we make of the Notre Dame offense at this point, but I am starting to get really excited about what I'm seeing. I mean, CJ Carr looks incredible, and he's getting better each week.
Yeah. Agree.
I'm not going to confuse Arkansas with any kind of brick wall of a defense. They just fired their coach. Okay. But what I really liked out of the Irish was that they went out there and they left no doubt. That's what we were waiting for people who watch Notre Dame, for people who root on Notre Dame, even for people who are just interested casually in Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You were waiting for a moment like this where they went out there and they murdered someone. And they did it. They looked really good on the ground. CJ Carr looked really good through the air. No notes on what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball.
Great.
Defensively is where I think the biggest questions are. And defensively, they answered the bell. They absolutely look really, really solid against a good Arkansas offense. They might be in a bit of disarray, but they have good talent. And I expected that they would have a lot more success against the Notre Dame defense that has been problematic. Notre Dame's defense was outstanding. They were outstanding in this game. It was a huge step forward. I would expect another step forward this coming week at home against Boise State. It's all building towards that USC game in mid-October. That's really the big landmine that's still on the schedule for the Irish. But I think they understand what's in front of them. I like the fact that they're playing with real purpose and intention, especially on offense. And if the defense continues to improve, there are going to be other teams in front of them that lose. Notre Dame, before long, could have a claim for that playoff. But
yes,
let's not put the cart before the horse. This is also not a finished product, but I think there are really strong indicators here that this is a team, much like last year, right? After week 2, when they lose, it's like, oh my gosh, which direction are they headed? They went on this incredible run down the stretch, and they ended up finding their way eventually into the title game. I'm not saying they're going to do that again, but we have seen them before kind of build after a tough start to the season, make their claim, and then perform pretty well by the time all is said and done. And I think we're kind of headed on that same course now.
Okay. Old Dominion is now 3-1. Your thoughts? They did not get blown out by Indiana. They did beat Virginia Tech. Watch out for the Monarchs.
Watch out for the Monarchs.
Any more stray thoughts? Boise State wins. Stanford comes back and wins. Lenore Sellers was incredible against Kentucky. You just constantly love to see that. Memphis took care of business against FAU. I can just list all, there's a million games. Anything else that when you look at the scoreboard, I know you want your San Diego State, Northern Illinois deep dive. They did win that game, by the way, 6-3. They didn't lose that game.
That's right.
Correction.
That's right.
UConn keeps on winning. Utah blew out West Virginia.
The Utah West Virginia one was interesting to me, actually.
Yeah, they blew them out right away.
Yeah, I mean, they just laid the wood.
Yeah.
And we both felt pretty good about Utah, but again, how do you respond is ever the question in college football. And I think more important now than ever before, because nobody is truly out of this thing until you're really out of it. Right. And Utah to go on the road, even against a team like a West Virginia, that to me was impressive. 48-14 was your final there. The Big 12 to me it remains the most interesting conference. I truly don't know which end is up. I like Iowa State. I like Arizona State. I like Texas Tech. Everybody else, you could convince me one way or another.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, though, is I think the team that I am watching closest, not just because the point spread this coming week is interesting.
That was a fun game last week, man.
It's a fun game last week. They pull it out over Kansas, 37-34. As you mentioned earlier, they're doing a lot well. And I think there are caveats with the Cincinnati season that we saw in 2024 that maybe made it hard to judge how good they were or weren't.
Sure.
But so far this season, I've liked what I've seen. So I'm watching them closely.
Here's the caveat to Ty's statement. Not the pass defense.
Not the pass defense. No,
Kansas's Emmanuel Henderson, I believe, 5 catches for 215 yards or something.
Yeah, not great as a pass defense.
Right.
And that will certainly come back to bite them. But there are other aspects of the Cincinnati season so far that I'm actually encouraged by. So,
plants better than I do. No, birds better than I do.
Birds, I don't know a thing about plants.
So the Big Ten's associated with the Rose Bowl. Northwestern wins the Corpse Flower Bowl over UCLA.
They were up 17-0, right? And then UCLA
had to hold on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Want to preview a few games real quick?
Yeah, let's do a couple.
Early bird special.
We got 2 games this week of note here as part of our early bird special. The first is a revenge game for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
It is.
3:30 on ABC. It is Vanderbilt. It is Alabama. Alabama is favored by 10.5 at home.
Yes, correct.
This is the second year in a row for Alabama where this game is in a huge letdown spot after a win against Georgia. This one happens to be at home in Tuscaloosa, which is helpful. I cannot imagine that Alabama is going to be sleeping on Vandy after what happened a year ago.
Isn't game day going to be there?
Game day is going to be there.
Yeah.
They're not going to be sleeping on Vandy.
Correct.
They're just not. If they can score 70, they will. If you did not have a chance to go back and listen, if you're a Patreon subscriber, even if you're not, 2 Thursdays ago, we did a Vandy deep dive. The Vandy philosophy basically is to play slow, force their opponents to be super efficient. And what I find interesting in this matchup is that Alabama kind of does that too.
Yeah.
They both play very slow. And it feels to me like this is one of those games that you're going to look down at your watch and be like, wait, we played the entire first half in 63 minutes?
Yes.
How did that happen? If you've got a scenario like that, it's a game that's moving quickly. It's 2 teams that generally are playing slower when they have the football. 10.5 points feels like a lot to me in that scenario.
Agree.
So I came into this one thinking Bama's going to blow the doors off Vandy. It's a revenge spot. I came out of this one feeling like Vandy's going to cover and they're probably going to keep it close just because of the play style of these 2 teams. Does that track for you?
It does. I think I'm going to take Vandy to win this game.
Outright. If Vandy goes on the road and beats Alabama, where are they ranked next week? Are they a top 10 team?
Top 10? Yeah.
They would have to
top
be,
10.
right?
Okay. So my thing is, if Vandy were wearing a different uniform, if Vandy were wearing a Mizzou uniform, if Vandy had been wearing a Texas A&M uniform heading into the stadium this week, I think you would like them more. With the way that they have performed, the way that they play and the way that they were able to, it was like a bloodletting last year, right? Every 3rd and 3 was converted. Every 3rd and 6 was converted. Every 4th and whatever. That they played very deliberately and Diego Pavia made plays. What are they doing this year? They're playing deliberately. Diego Pavia made plays. Now, they barely won that game last year. Alabama can't run the ball. Alabama's red zone defense has been like very quietly atrocious this year.
Yeah.
And Vandy just makes those high leverage plays over and over again with their 33-year-old quarterback. So right now, as it stands now, there have been some slow starts from Vandy, right? They were going back and forth with, I think, an improved Utah State team. But that's not a measuring stick type opponent for Vandy. And they pulled away and they scored whatever, 50, 60 points. I think Vanderbilt very specifically is in a very specific way is dependable in a way that Bama is not. That Bama can come out and score a bunch of points, or Bama can come out and look like they're completely lost and may not even be playing the right players or playing the right team. That there's nothing terribly dependable about Alabama week to week. And it's the dependability of Vandy right now that I think gives them the edge. And I hate that Bama doesn't and can't run the ball.
Well,
like they counted on their quarterback these last couple of years as they've been getting worse and worse at running the ball. So
and this is what I said earlier. I mean, they profile as a one-dimensional offense.
Their best running back's running for Michigan.
It is Ty Simpson and his offense.
Yeah.
The pop is going to come through the air, not on the ground. Ty Simpson's been very good.
Yeah.
I think we'll continue to see a game plan that revolves around him, especially since last year the Achilles heel for Vandy was the pass defense. And this is where I think it's an interesting test for both sides of this.
Yeah.
The Vandy pass defense has been better so far, and we expected it to be better, but how much better are they really? We saw it against Charleston Southern, against Virginia Tech and South Carolina, Georgia State, Utah State a week ago. They don't have the same amount of pop out wide. They just don't. So this is an important test for them, and this is, I think, going to be a really important test as well for Ty Simpson, because this is, I think, a pretty disciplined Vandy team. Obviously, they're upset-minded. We saw it a year ago. Clearly, this is a letdown potential spot for the Alabama Crimson Tide, even knowing that game day is going to be in town and Vandy beat them last year.
Kalen DeBoer only loses to Vanderbilt.
Only loses to Vanderbilt. So
show me proof otherwise.
That side of Alabama's offense and their philosophy and how they are building this thing up against a Vandy defense that we know what the problem spots were a year ago. They've been better. How do they acquit themselves against an Alabama offense? That to me is going to be a fascinating chess match. The other thing that I would add here on the Vandy side, their offense has actually been really good this year.
Yeah.
Very quietly.
I mean, it's quiet because of the opponents, but yeah.
Because of the opponent, but like our friend Bill Connolly from ESPN does the SP Plus. It's opponent adjusted. He's got all sorts of voodoo that he does behind the scenes. He's got them right now, very early, as the number 6 offense in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Which is better than Alabama's for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Now, very early. I know, like hand
and
to God,
Alabama's played Florida State and Georgia. Yeah.
Very early. Okay. But thus far, the offense has been really good. Diego Pavia looks like he's taken a big step forward as a passer. If nothing more, everything on my spreadsheet is saying that Vandy's a better team than last year, especially on offense.
Yeah.
So either you believe the numbers or you don't. I've watched enough of Vandy this year to feel pretty good about the direction that they're headed, and it seems to me like they are better. I don't think that's a mirage. So my gut was to lay the points with Bama in a revenge game. My brain, every other thing that I have is now telling me that this is way too many points.
Okay.
And I still think Bama is better. I still think they win at home. I think it's 28-23. Right now, by the way, the over-under is 57. I'd lean under just because of the play style. These teams do not rush to get up to the football and run a play as quick as they can. They're two of the slowest teams in college football. 57 to me in a game that we know Vandy wants to slow it down as much as they can. I would go under, but I still think Bama wins.
Good weather. Maybe a little bit on the hot side in the 80s, sunny. Kickoff. It's a 2:30 Central Time kick. Yeah, I'm going Vandy outright. I don't hate your under pick. I'm going to say 28-27.
I could see that
wins.
totally.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
Yep.
The other big one in week 6 on ABC 7:30, it is number 3 Miami on the road at Florida State. Florida State is a 4.5 point home dog. I believe this opened closer to 7.5. It has very slowly crept down now to 4.5. It was 5.5 this morning when I made our document.
Yeah.
Miami on bye last week. Florida State, of course, dropped that game on Friday night in OT against Virginia. This is another one where first impulse was Miami's going to drill them. They're going to drill them. But then I see the point spread and I start thinking, okay, what am I missing here? Vegas is obviously expecting something a little bit closer. This is going to be Miami's first road game, as you said earlier.
Yep.
They're at night at the Doak. I don't want to discount Florida State's loss against Virginia. It was an obvious look-ahead spot. And also, Virginia could be pretty good. Like, there's an 86% chance this year that Virginia is going to finish with 8 or more wins.
Yes.
So we will see how that game holds up over time, but that actually could be like an okay loss.
Agree.
So for as good as that Florida State defense looked in week 1 against Alabama, that's how bad it looked a week ago against Chandler Morris in Virginia.
46 in
my,
overtimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and my issue is trying to figure out who is the real defense. Like, will the real Florida State defense please stand up?
Right.
I don't know what to expect on that side of the ball. That's my sticking point here.
I think the Miami defense is more dependable. I like that the Florida State defense is playing at home. I like that the best version of this Florida State team will be one with a fire under itself after that loss to Virginia. The mismatch here is, to me, Thomas Castellanos, who can be a positive or negative chaos agent.
Yes.
Throwing and running into the Miami defense, which appears to be a very positive chaos agent for Miami this season.
Yes.
And so that would have me worried if I were a Florida State fan at this point. I'm not super worried. It was a game against Florida late for Miami, in Miami.
It was.
I don't think Miami's a finished product. I think they're going to continue to get better over the course of this season. It was a close win against Notre Dame. It was close against Florida until very late. So I don't think that score is representative of the rhythm of that game. I think Miami's the better team here.
They are.
I'm going to take the points, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a home dog Florida State. I think Miami wins this game close. I think it's going to be reasonably low scoring. I think it's going to be something like, this game always seems to be closer than it should be if one of these teams is down.
Yep.
And neither of these teams appear to be down. So something in the vicinity of 24-21, 23-20, something like that. I have Miami winning on the road.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and I think Miami has a clear advantage because of their lines.
Yeah.
Offensive, defensive line. There's a clear advantage there that should allow them to set the tone in this game on the ground. Maybe the way they did a little bit against Notre Dame. I think they're good enough on defense to limit Tommy Castellanos, kind of the same way they did Byron Brown in week 2. I was thinking this through. Miami has sort of already beaten Florida State in the aggregate.
Yeah.
With how they've performed against other teams that have similar enough parts. I think Miami wins. I also think it's close, and I'm also taking the points. I think it's a little higher scoring. I've got it like 31-27.
Okay.
I've convinced myself this one's going to be closer. And for as much as I think that Miami does have the solution to a guy like a Tommy Castellanos, I also get the sense that that Florida State, that they're big game hunters and that they will be juiced up for this one.
They definitely will be.
Do not be surprised at all if Florida State tries to game plan some fireworks early, because this is a very explosive team. And I didn't mean to make that a pun, but
it's okay.
They're a very explosive team. The two things I love about Florida State, A, is that they've been explosive, and B, is that they've been pretty good on third downs. They're very good at extending drives. That tends to work really well in some of these rivalry games where you're at home at night, you got a lot on the line. I think you want that. Florida State's got that dog in them. They do. Even though they lost on the road to Virginia, I still think this version of Florida State is leaps and bounds better than a year ago. And I think they've got upset on the mind here. I don't think they get the upset. But I also don't want to underestimate a home dog in a rivalry There's probably some element of the Noles that after the loss against Virginia, they feel like they've got their back to the wall. I don't want to underestimate the desperate team at home at night that still is very explosive. So I'm going Canes. I like Florida State with the points. But
Two
barely.
things to pay attention to as well. By the way, Nebraska fans complained about Tony White on third down last year. Florida State in the red zone on defense has been very bad.
Yes.
Situational defense in the red zone has not been great. Just something to pay attention to. It's a very small sample size, so it might not matter at this point. I'm also curious about what Miami looks like on a different part of the field when there are shot opportunities. Carson Beck pushing the ball downfield, right? I think Carson Beck can be excellent, but I'm saying, is that going to be a part of Miami's game plan against Florida State? Are they going to test Florida State deep? Are they going to test them long intermediate stuff, long passes? Is that something that Miami feels comfortable as part of their passing attack? Because it's sort of come and gone so far this season against good opponents, good defenses, and I was going to say defenses, a good defense probably in Florida. Likely, eventually, a decent defense in Notre Dame. We'll see. But that's an element of the Miami attack that I think is a little bit underdeveloped at the moment, and they've been very good.
I would agree with that.
But how well can they keep Florida State honest deep with Carson Beck and his rebuilt elbow and everything like that? Just something I'm curious about.
Write in solidverbal@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on these games and much, much more. There are some other really interesting games in Week 6. I mean, Week 6 is not Week 5. I'll just shoot you straight. It isn't. But K-State at Baylor could be interesting. Wisconsin at Michigan is at least a matchup of two blue blood programs or two name brand programs. I don't know if we consider Wisconsin a blue blood or not. That's probably a separate conversation.
Not myself.
Iowa State at Cincinnati. I mentioned earlier, Cincy right now at recording is favored by 1. Texas at Florida. We didn't preview that one, but we will on the next episode. I mentioned Boise at Notre Dame. Virginia on the road at Louisville is a really good matchup now in light of what we saw happen last week.
Agree.
Texas Tech at Houston, I mentioned earlier as being of interest to me. And Mississippi State at Texas A&M. A&M's favored by 14 points.
It's a letdown spot for Mississippi State after getting so close against Tennessee. But yeah.
But that's a lot of points for a team that I think is very quickly becoming noteworthy in the SEC.
Yeah.
We'll get into those games and much, much more on Thursday. Again, hit follow, hit subscribe. If you made it this far, do go on out to verballers.com if you want to sign up to support what Dan and I do. Going a little bit longer here today because we left some meat on the bone with what we did on Saturday night. But I think it was worth it. It was a great trip. I'm glad we finally got you in here.
So fun.
For a little bit of a road trip across PA. And again, we would not have been able to do this without the support of many people who helped us make it all possible this past weekend. Any highlights that you'd like to share here before we let the fine people go from our trip?
I've got a Google document with 77 highlights, Ty. Okay. 1, middle child sandwiches in Philadelphia. Holy
Really
moly.
Yeah.
Unbelievable sandwich spot. Highly recommend. Middle child.
I was a little bit worried because you had it wrapped up, not on ice, but wrapped up in the front seat for a couple hours. And you're like, here, do you want this? And I'm like, yeah I do. And it was
Hoagies
really
are
good.
forever. Yeah.
And I was worried that maybe, we didn't preserve it well enough, but the stomach held up okay and the sandwich was delicious. So yeah, couldn't recommend that highly or more highly.
The game day experience at Penn State is great. There appears to be 744,000 people tailgating before the game. It just goes on forever.
We walked
you were
11.2 miles per my Apple Watch.
I love that. The fans at Penn State were legitimately incredible. Everybody was very nice, very hospitable, welcoming. The food was great. You shouted out various tailgaters that we met and hung out with. I thought the tailgate scene was great and expansive. I thought the in-game experience was incredible. The whiteout is one of one. It was ear-splitting. Fans were all in their seats way, way, way before kickoff. Everybody was back when the second half was starting. Nobody was hostile to me, a green dot, in the middle of a white sea. Everybody was very cool to me as an Oregon fan, which was nice. I guess it's because I'm not Ohio State and Michigan. I guess that's where things might get a little more hostile.
There were a few loons in the crowd wearing Ohio State gear.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which I just don't get. And I saw some guy who was confronted out in the concourse, which is the concourse conversation's like a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But there was a dude out there it was white, but it had Ohio State on it. And there were a bunch of Penn Staters like, what are you doing?
I as well enjoy college football, but my
it
team
was
isn't
the only
playing today.
white thing I had was his
It's weird.
explanation that nobody bought. But
Yeah,
continue.
Go to Target and get a white shirt. You're okay. Yeah, the in-game experience, the marching band and the fireworks and all that was incredible. Penn State makes very weird music decisions. I mean, even aside from Mo Bamba.
Listen, this is a point of contention for me as well.
Yeah, they remove juice from this stadium for no reason.
Here's how I would describe this.
Yeah.
If you go out on YouTube and you run a search on failed fireworks finales.
Okay.
There's one out there, I believe it was in San Diego,
I think so too.
where somebody hit the wrong button and they accidentally lit off all the fireworks at once.
Yeah.
And it's just this like 30-second cavalcade of every single pyrotechnic available.
Yeah.
That seems to be Penn State's philosophy when it comes to the in-stadium like sound experience.
Yeah.
They're playing Crazy Train and Ozzy yelling all aboard as they're playing something else simultaneously as they're playing something else.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been back in a while for this, and I have not been part of the whiteout industrial complex since they started making this more of a thing. Since we were both there for the first one, apparently in 2007. I would like a little bit more cohesion. It still works. It's still one of one, as they say, the greatest show in college sports. I agree with that. But I would like a little bit more like just more of a like theme to make it all fit together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought the pregame festivities were incredible, but went on a little bit too long. Like the videos went on a little bit too long. The pump up stuff, like there was such an amazing amount of juice in the stadium that I would just ride that wave and go right into kickoff. So I thought that went on. That was a little bit too extended. Between the third and fourth quarter, when you go around college football, like the sing-alongs and the dancey stuff, like there are so many amazing traditions, new and old. And Penn State's is a 0 out of 10 with the band playing Hey Baby. Nobody cared in the entire stadium beyond maybe some octogenarians. And we'll be there soon.
Yeah.
But they removed juice from a tight game playing that when you Dixieland Delight and Won't Back Down and Shout and Jump Around and all those things. There was zero juice musically towards the end of the game when you could have gotten the crowd into it. So I'm sure there's like a traditional thing, but yeah.
I don't think I heard the White Stripes once.
If they did, it was very brief. Yeah,
I don't
they
think
didn't
I
do
heard
White
that.
Stripes.
I don't think I heard it.
They did the like, we ready. They did that a few times, and that was fine. And they do like the Joker and the Thief, the Wolf Mother song. That got people up, and they did a lot of good with it. But there was some like, why are you doing this right now? Who is this for? Nobody cares. Get rid of this from the playlist.
I mean, it's the same reaction I get when I try to play DJ when I'm playing songs out in the patio.
I'm sure.
And Kate's like, just move, go, give me the phone.
Yeah, and Ty almost got abducted by a crowd trying to make his way back from the urinal.
Listen,
it's an F- fan experience everywhere but inside the stadium field area.
I don't want to be a complainer because it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, they're a bunch of
And
amateurs
I'm
running the show behind the scenes, though.
I am absolutely thrilled that we were there.
Yes.
I have never in my life had an experience like I did in the concourse.
Yeah.
I mean, it was legitimately somebody could have gotten hurt.
Yeah. Bottom of the barrel.
And Penn State needs to fix that immediately.
Yeah.
They need to fix that immediately. And it was to the point where it was shoulder to shoulder. Nobody could move in the concourse in the upper deck.
Yeah.
And there were Oregon people who were terrified trying to get through.
Uh-huh.
And they were just like worming their way through as best they could. And there were Penn State fans and Oregon fans kind of sympathizing with one another because of how legitimately scary it was.
Yeah.
There were women out there having panic attacks. It was really unfortunate. I damn near had a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I'm not claustrophobic, but I don't know if it's going to take somebody getting hurt for them to fix that. I don't know how much of that is due to ongoing construction. There's a lot that I probably don't know. But I can tell you, I know enough to know that that was not safe.
Yeah.
And they need to fix that. And I hope with whatever they're doing, they're going to fix it next.
I suggested they bring in like Dutch engineers who have no loyalty to Penn State. Yeah.
I doubt that Pat Kraft is listening to this, but maybe somebody can send it to him because that was an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah.
And as a Penn State alum who does this in front of a lot of people, I'm not afraid to say that was embarrassing, and I hope that Oregon people come back when they get their acting gear, because that was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I would never go back to a Penn State game unless it was of this size, just because it's such a pain in that stadium. But the actual in-game stuff is A+. Like
it was incredible. Yeah, it was like 12 out of 10 for the overwhelming majority of it. But yeah, unless you got there super early, and were content in your seat and didn't need to get up for anything, and maybe it was on me for trying to go to the bathroom an hour and a half before kickoff.
Got to get you a catheter. Yeah.
But I was genuinely embarrassed as an alum for how that was outside the stadium. And there were no shortage of people out there who were talking about writing letters to the administration.
Ooh.
Whether or not they take that to heart remains to be seen, but that was a joke and an embarrassment.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing that was 10 out of 10, aside from like the goosebumps from the whiteout in a good way, getting a tour of the state of Pennsylvania from Ty Hildenbrandt. Holy moly. If you guys ever get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, I've been a lot of places. The state of Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, is the most American state in America. I'm not saying it's the best state. I'm not saying it's the worst state. I have no idea where it would fall in my rankings of favorite states. But in terms of the variety that you can get when Ty Hildenbrandt is touring you from Philadelphia to Central PA, and I don't know Western PA at all, but you think about what's going on in Philly, you think about proximity to things, you think about, the most beautiful forestry, then Ty telling you about super fun sites, and then Ty showing you like, oh yeah, this is where so-and-so is from. This is where Taylor Swift is from. And she's marrying like, a Philadelphia podcaster, right? So it's a very Pennsylvania union.
She's Philadelphia podcaster adjacent.
No, I'm saying she's marrying a Philadelphia podcaster, right?
Well, Travis isn't a Philadelphia podcaster. His brother is.
What are you talking about?
Travis Kelce?
Travis Kelce plays for the Chiefs. She's not marrying him.
She's not marrying.
She is marrying Travis Kelce.
Wow.
I was wrong about that. Yes. She is.
You've already reached that octogenarian stage.
I know,
I
have. I totally slipped
10
on
minutes.
that. Yes. Jason Kelce is happily married already.
Yeah.
But she is adjacent to Philadelphia podcasting.
Right.
The areas that you took me through in, I guess, central eastern Pennsylvania, where it's just like, here are the Amish, here are the horse and buggies. They seem okay. They make a lot of good produce and chicken and furniture. There was such a wide variety of life in Pennsylvania. I mean, the Declaration of Independence was signed in Pennsylvania, yes?
It's there. I don't know where it was signed, but sure.
Okay. I don't know. I'm screwing up left and right. But the amount of information you gave me as I'm peppering you with questions about Pennsylvania, it was incredible.
Well, it's good to hear that 7th or 8th grade PA history class came in handy.
I'm looking up where the Declaration of Independence, where it was signed.
Yeah. I don't know if it was signed in Philly, but alas.
Okay. Yeah. Philadelphia. Independence
beautiful.
Hall.
Beautiful. Well, look, I'm glad you came. You're going to have to come back again sometime soon. It was a fun road trip. Our show, for what it's worth, the live one that we did, a little bit late with Avery, for Baller Avery's help, so kindly giving us his basement. It was the biggest reaction show that we've done ever, actually. So it was huge. And part of that was the game, but I think part of that was us giving some on-the-ground experience. For
sure.
It was a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody who helped make that possible, and for everybody, if nothing more, who listened and kind of cheered it on in the background. That was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again soon.
Had the best time.
All right, Dan. We went way over time here, but you know what? It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
Do what we want.
We appreciate those of you taking the time to hang in with us here. Hopefully you enjoyed the weekend as much as we did. Hopefully we all enjoy week 6 as much as we did week 5. Much more to come. Don't forget to tune in by hitting follow or subscribe so that you don't miss any of our episodes. Verballers.com. We will talk more about Verballers.com the deeper we get into the week, what the Run the Board prize will be for week 6. Of course, there is new merch out there in the merch store at merch.solidverbal.com. We've been hard at work on that front. More to come on that front as well. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the very near future. But in the meantime, I got to get a drink. My voice is starting to feel like 2 sticks rubbing together back there.
Please do.
We got to rest up. We got a big week of games in front of us. For that, go over there. Dan, for myself, Ty, thanks again for tuning in. We'll talk to you all soon. Stay solid.
Peace.